So there's this feeling that you tend to feel sometimes when you go into a car project or you're working on a car. I like to call it the what the f feeling. Where you go into things you don't know what the f you're doing. I haven't experienced this feeling in a while. The f am I doing? As you can see in front of me here, I have been trying to figure things out all day with this. So we're putting our short block together. Well, we're not putting it together quite yet because I'm waiting on one more tool to come in. I ordered a stretch gauge to be able to measure the rod bolts when we go to like torque those down onto the crank. But today I've been going through and I've been taking measurements off of things. I have found a couple things out so far. So far, I have the wrong size main bearings. Found that out using that fancy tool right there and some fancy micrometers where they have disappeared somewhere on the table in here or down there. I don't know where that went. But I did find out our rod bearings are the wrong size. So I was talking to Jeremy down at Outfront. He has the correct size there. So we're going to get a set overnighted to be able to take care of that issue. Next up, I've been trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing with ring gap on this, because essentially bigger gap, more boost. There's some things I haven't told you guys that you'll find out later, but I'm trying to figure out what I want to set this ring gap to. So I've been using this piston ring grinder to try to like get piston ring size to what I want it to be. So I don't know what I want it to be. That's Can you tell how well prepared I am for this video? Because I genuinely have no idea what the hell I'm doing. It's all right though. Let me hop back on Naziok and continue doing some reading to figure out how to put this thing together. This is a first for me. But what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Let me hop on my phone, do some Googling real quick. I'm gonna put the piston stuff away for now because I know if I keep playing with the piston stuff without having the adequate amount of information, I'm going to do something wrong. So I'm gonna hold off on messing with the piston stuff because I have absolutely no idea what I'm supposed to set the ring size to. I know the bigger the gap, more boost. Smaller gap for E85, but what if I'm running E85 with a lot of boost? What do I put gap? I'm thinking like 0.020 is what I set the top ring to, and like 0.018 for the bottom ring. I don't quite know yet, so I'm not gonna mess with it. Let me show you how we're about to play with the rod. So a lot of today is like I have no idea what I'm doing, but we're gonna figure it out as we go. So we're gonna verify rod bearing size from the rod bearing off of the crank. And I'm gonna show you how we do that because I do know how to do that one. So this part of things, I know what I'm doing because I used to be an aerospace inspector for like 4 years, so I know how to use precision measuring tools. Now right here, I have a set of Minitoyo 2 to 3 inch calipers, my bad, these are micrometers, the calipers are like over there. And then we also have a bore gauge here. Now we're gonna need both of these, but we're gonna start out by just using these micrometers. So I've already gone through and I pulled all the measurements off this crank that we need. As you can see, I kind of just wrote them down over here so that way I know what each measurement is for everything, so we can make sure our clearances are good on everything. That's how I found out that our main bearing clearances are out of tolerance. I was getting about 5 thou clearance on that, which is it was anywhere from about 2.5 to 5 thou. So we have a new set of bearings coming from Outfront. I talked to Jeremy earlier. They have a set in stock, so we're gonna get a set of those shipped over real quick so that way we can start assembling that. But up here, so we know the measurement off of this, it's like 2.0456 or something like that. That's exactly it, 2.0456. So that is the measurement or the diameter of this. Now what we need to do here to verify our clearances is we need to get this mic set pulled off of here. We're going to lock that down at that measurement once we pull it off, because I'm not going to score the journals on the crank, and then we'll zero out our bore gauge over there inside of this micrometer set to 0, and then we can get these bearings thrown into these rods and make sure that we're somewhat close on clearances. So let me swap all this around real quick. Yeah, this is 10 out of 10. My favorite part of car stuff is the I don't know what the hell I'm doing feeling. I miss this feeling. I'm glad to have this feeling back. 2.0456. Okay, that's where we want to be right there. Lock that down. So now I need to zero this out to 2.0456. I need to swap 2.0456, 2.0456, 2.0456. All right, we're zeroed out there. Jesus. So we zeroed out the bore gauge off of the micrometers. Now the micrometers can come out of the vise. Oh, Jesus, dude, the thing did not want to let go. So, after looking online, it looks like Manly suggests 2 to 3 thou for rod bearing clearance. So we will find out. We will find out what we're sitting at. Hopefully it's 2 to 3 thou. If not, I may have to order other bearings. The tang, so there's a tang on the bearing. Make sure you do line the tang up where it needs to be. I'm just gonna set you right in there, rod bearing. You're doing great, you're looking good. So we've got the rod bearings in there. Get the rod put back together. Where's the bolts? Now for this, we do need to torque these down. I don't have my stretch gauge yet, but we can go to the torque spec and actually torque them down. 95 foot-pounds. Now we can take our bore gauge, stick it right in here, and measure tolerance. Something is significantly wrong. Something is very wrong. What? 20 thou. I am off 20 thousandths of an inch. What? There's no way. Get out of here. Hold up. All right, it was user error. It was all me. I called my buddy Eric, who is, he's a really good friend of mine, known him like 10 years now. And he's a machinist. So there were some things I was doing wrong with the bore gauge. I did not have the bore gauge properly set up. So if you put this guy in here and you do it, you don't want the dial to go all the way around. You don't want it to do one revolution or else it's gonna be completely off. So center on that, because I have the micrometers angled right now. Center is about right there for 0. So we know that is the size of the crank, which is 2.0456. Stick our rod back in here. Get our rod nice and snug just so it's not gonna move. And now we're gonna stick our dial bore gauge back in here again. And as you can see, we're right on the money. We are right on the money with it equal. We're at about 2 to 3 thou, which is in tolerance for what we want. So we know that that rod bearing set is good. I'm actually gonna throw this rod on the crank, I think. Actually, I'm not. I'm gonna leave it off. I'm gonna leave the bearing in there for now, but I am gonna break these guys loose. Where's my breaker bar? There it is. Break those loose. So I'm gonna leave that loose on there. I know that this rod is good for clearancing, so I'm gonna go ahead and set this one aside. I'm gonna run through the other 3 and get the other 3 set up as well, so that way we're gonna be good to go. So let's run through and do some rod goodness. So as I'm measuring more and I'm getting more familiar with these tools, and after that phone call with Eric that like significantly helped me figure out the bore gauge. No, come on out, you're fine. I feel a lot more comfortable doing this, and I'm not so much more in that what the f am I doing zone anymore. I'm kind of like, I kind of know what I'm doing now. So I got all of the rod clearances measured. I'm happy with them. They fall perfectly in between manly specs, between 2 to 3 thousandths of an inch. The mains, what are you doing?
You were pointing it directly at me. Stop!
After redoing the mains and remeasuring the mains and figuring out how to do the bore gauge correctly, we're sitting at about 3 thousandths of an inch. Ideally, I want to be between about like 1.5 thou and 3 thou. I have another set of bearings coming, so we should be able, hopefully, to get it figured out. But I have a surprise that I want to show you guys. Well, it's kind of like a teaser. So if you watch this video, you get the teaser. I got something in today. I got something pretty cool in. Do you guys know what that is? Or do you know what it's for? That's a K&N air filter for the 05 STI. You know what that goes to? Do you know what that's for? If you do, hey, don't go in, come back. And then you'll be back? Yeah. Cool. So if you know what the air filter's for, I'm sure you already know what's about to happen with this engine. Jeremy did hit me back up though with the ring specs. So he said top ring 0.014, bottom ring 0.017, I believe. I don't know, let me check my phone. So top ring 0.014, bottom ring 0.017. So let's get the ring gap set on these things, so that way we can at least get the pistons assembled. I already have the rods marked what home they're going to, 1 through 4. So let's get piston rings done. Actually, let me show you how I'm gonna do these piston rings and we'll knock them out. So now we're gonna get the piston ring set up for this. So I was waiting on Jeremy to send me the info and he did. So that way we can get the ring gapping or the end gap properly figured out. I am not gonna tell you guys what you should set your rings to because there are a ton of variables that are gonna go into ring gapping. So I'm not even gonna try to like guess what your ring gap should be. If you wanna look online, there are some pretty safer numbers out there. Just keep that in mind. For us, we're gonna be setting the top ring to 0.014 and the bottom ring to 0.017. So we're gonna come in here, we're gonna throw some assembly lube on the cylinder wall just to help with any potential scratching of the wall, just to reduce it as much as possible. I'm just gonna be fairly generous with the amount of assembly lube that I throw in here just to really protect things. Let me wipe my hand off now. So now we're gonna come in here and we're gonna get this piston ring in. So the N25 or whatever marking on yours is going to face up towards the deck. So you're just gonna bend it a little bit, get it in there, and then rotate it flat and then push it down a little bit. Then you're gonna grab your piston. So with JE, they do say left or right, top, bottom, so that way you know there is an arrow pointing which way goes front, so we know it's going to face that way. Next, we're gonna get this piston in here, we're gonna push it down so that way it sits relatively flat and level, just so that way we can get proper gapping set up. So right there, boom. Now let me grab the camera and show you this. So right there you can see that there really isn't any gap right there on that piston ring. So we need to open that up to, what did I say, 0.014. So we're gonna take that ring out, we're gonna throw it on this little grinder that I got. I just bolted this thing down to the table so that way it wouldn't move as I'm using it. I think this is like 30 bucks on Amazon. It works pretty well. I've already done 2 pistons. You just gotta remember, you can take material off, you cannot add material back on, so be very careful. So let's get the piston ring out of there. We'll bring it over here, keep going back and forth until we have our end gap right, and then we're gonna grab one of our feeler gauges here, stick the feeler gauge in and measure gap. So let me knock this part out real quick because I'm going to be going back and forth a lot. I'm gonna show you guys this because this took me a little while to figure out because, to be honest, I straight up just didn't know. So when it comes to these rings, when I opened these rings, I was like, I have way more rings than I thought I was going to have. There's going to be 2 of these little tiny rings. These go with your oil control. They go with your oil control ring, which is this like wavy looking ring. One of them is going to have a tang on it. There's no way that's going to pick up on camera, but there's a small tang on one of the rings. The other one doesn't have a tang on it, so you've got a tanged one and an untanged one. So that means that we need both of them. I didn't know that. So we've got 2 of the tiny rings that go with the wavy oil control ring. We've got the compression ring, which is the silver one, and then we've got the oil scraper ring, which is kind of like the more gray one. You can definitely tell it's the oil scraper ring because it's a lot sharper. You can just feel how much sharper it is on there. So first we're gonna get the oil control rings on there. So I'm gonna go ahead and dab up my finger with some of this lube, and then we're gonna grab the one with the tang on it. The tang is right on the edge of where the rings break. We're just gonna get some lube right on there. You do oil control ring, and then the bottom detented ring, and then the top ring, and that locks it in place. So I ran to, what was it, AutoZone? I just picked up these ring installation pliers. So next we're gonna do the second ring, which is the oil scraper, so we can get some lube thrown on him. See, this is all new to me. I'm learning as I go. What do you know? This ring is really sharp, or it feels sharp. And then we can get this ring on the piston. So we slide you in right there, you in right there, open that guy up. You don't want to bend these rings. Everything I watched online said don't bend these rings. So don't bend the ring, Tanner. Then we get you into your home right there. Boom. And then we can get this top ring on. So we'll do the same thing, get a little assembly lube, just kind of lube up this ring. Grab our pliers. Slide one end of the ring in, grab the other end of the ring, put it in the pliers, then we can get the top ring on, and boom! Let go. Get in your, where did you just go? Did you just go in your home? You did! Dope! Now we have all of our rings on that piston. Look at that. I got one more piston to knock out, but let me knock out the other piston, then I'll show you the orientation of how all of these rings actually sit on here, because when I first looked at this, I was confused as hell. And then when we go to install these into the car, I do have a piston ring installer to make life significantly easier for us, so that way we're not like stressing about trying to figure out how to get these in, because a piston ring compressor will make life easy. I just snagged the Company 23 one. It's literally what it sounds like. It's a piston ring compressor. Compresses the piston rings, we can tighten it down, get it in the car, yada yada. You know the drill. So let me knock out this last piston. We got one more to put together. So to show you guys this, so this is piston for cylinder number 4. I just pulled it out of the pack with the rest of them over there. So if you go down here and you look at it, you've got that bottom ring right there with like the little indentations in it. That is your oil control ring. So you're gonna get that one in first, and then the 2 supporting rings that go around it. That next one up right there in the middle, that black one, is your oil scraper ring. And then the one above it, I believe it's called a compression ring. I'm pretty sure it's just your compression ring that, you know, does the sealing and whatnot. So we have all of our gaps set on the pistons. The pistons are assembled, ready to go into the short block when the time comes. Time's not right now because we're still waiting on the main bearings to come in, because those main bearings are a little off on size. So I'm debating throwing the rods on the crank, but I don't know if I want to do that yet or if I want to wait until I get the other main bearing, so that way I can assemble it all at once. I don't know. I'm gonna sit on it for like 5 minutes and we'll figure that out. We'll debate on that. So I just put the crank and the rods away. I'm not gonna mess with that tonight, not until it comes to final assembly time. Something I do wanna double check again though is measuring the mains here with the bore gauge. So I'm gonna walk you guys through how I've been doing that, just in case you guys come to the fact that you guys might have to do something similar. So after taking measurements off the crank, we know what the crank measurements are. For the first main on the engine, we're looking at 2.3607. So I have the mic set up to that, I believe, 2.3607. Yeah, so I've got the mic set up right now to 2.6037. We're gonna grab our bore gauge. We're gonna make sure we are zeroed. So on the gauge right there, let me stick it in here. I'm just gonna float it between the mic, and we are pretty much zeroed out right there. We're about a thou off, so it's so hard to turn this gauge and keep this in here. 0, so we are perfectly zeroed. So now we can come over here to the engine. So we know that when that little indicator on the back side of the bore gauge is pushed in as much as it was on the micrometer, we are at 0. So we are looking for like 1.5 to 2 thou tolerance in here. So if we slide this in on that, so we have about 2.5 thousandths of an inch clearance. I'm looking more along the lines of being around 1.5-ish. So that's on our first main right there. So we know our first main is out of spec. If we go down here to the second one and we do the same thing, we get that guy right in there, bring it up just a hair, and we get to that low right there. We're sitting at about 3 thou, about 3 thou to 5 thou, which is way more than we want to be at. So yeah, we're sitting at about 3 to 3.5 thousandths of an inch on that second one. If we go down one more and we go to this third one here, 3.5 thou on that third one down. If we go down one more, I might have to flip the engine over at this point. Flip job engaged. Stick that down here into the next one. So this is main number 4. Let me rotate that so that way you guys can see. I'm gonna have to go like right there. About 2.5 thou right there. And then this last one, which is always a pain, we're sitting at about 4 thou on that last main right there. We're seeing about 3 thou on that last main also. So too loose for me. Some of you guys might say, hey, run it. I say let's wait till we get the new bearings on Saturday, and then we'll redo it. But good to know, it's really not that hard. I was very set back by using this bore gauge. I don't know why. Bore gauges shouldn't be scary, but for some reason they're scary. But I think that's where I'm gonna stop for tonight. There's not much else I can do up until those other main bearings come in. I was talking to Jeremy earlier, and he was saying we may have to mix and match some bearings from the other set and this set, which is totally fine if we have to. It's just good to know that if you are building an engine like this, expect to have to do that. Just normal. I know like some big engine builders like IAG and other ones have like a full stock of bearings so that way they can knock them out quickly. No big deal. I just don't want to buy a whole bunch of bearings if I don't have to, so we're gonna do this one on the fly. But you guys absolutely killed it on the last video with the likes. I expect that to keep happening in the future. I don't know why, but I'm expecting it now. I mean, hopefully this helped you guys out. I will link below a really good video to be able to like learn how to read micrometers and bore gauges and whatnot. It's just, I don't want to try to explain that stuff. They're precision measuring tools. I can make a 20-minute video on how to read a set of micrometers or something like that. But anyways, that's all I really got for you guys on this one. You guys killed it on the likes on the last video so much that I have a surprise coming for you guys. And oh, I got more parts on the car I want to show you real quick. They're cool little subtle parts. So the rear end of the taxi was looking a little meh in my opinion. So I did get a carbon fiber exhaust guard. I think it's just APR. I don't even remember the brand on that one. And then some HT auto rear spats as well. Pretty happy. It does like accentuate the rear end a little bit more, but I love the taxi. Apparently a lot of other people like the taxi too because everyone's been asking to take photos of it. So I'm actually kind of glad I threw the taxi decals on there. It does make the car stand out a little bit more, which your boy's about. But that's all I got for you guys on this one. So if this helped you, if you enjoyed it, you know, go ahead and hit that like button if you want to. I'm expecting the likes to go crazy because I've seen what you guys can do with those likes. Just smash that like button. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel and you want to be, go ahead, hit that button anywhere. I don't know where I'm going to put it, one of these corners. Color of the day, cyan. Cyan, we'll do cyan as the color of the day. I think that's it. The surprise is coming. I showed you guys the updates, the little tiny exterior updates on Karma. We took a lot of measurements on engines and crankshafts today. Pretty good day. So with that, I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out home. Actually, the next one should be us assembling it.